Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 63 of Trails in the Pod. I'm Colin. That's Kev.
We're back. It's been a hot minute, over a month, since we sat in the recording studio, aka my office and your office. But we are back with Trails in the Pod, the intermission of Trails from Zero, and it's good to be talking about the game. It's good to have played the game. What a Thanksgiving miracle.
Indeed, indeed, Kevin. And I feel like, given the pace of things that have been happening to me right now, the intermission is a really nice, casual thing to talk about before we dive deeper into meat with other chapters. This past month has been a lot. Listeners might be wondering, okay, you finished chapter two. I think was it chapter three? We finished chapter three, and then there's supposed to be Buff Estate episode, and then the intermission. Maybe we know that they take breaks now and then on account of different stuff. But what had happened was, at first, my internet just died for like a week. It turns out that when Spectrum did web maintenance, they fucked something up, and the MAC address that they had on file and the MAC address for my modem no longer matched. Do I know what this means? No, I don't understand any of what it means, but eventually they fixed it. But, and this is why I'm in my office now, somehow this managed to fuck it up so that in my bedroom, I don't get good internet anymore and it keeps breaking in and out. And that would have made recording you and me impossible. Thus, why we are rolling on the Shabbos, recording on a Saturday. But the main reason why this is more than 2 weeks late is because, okay, so there was one week in which we were going to record, then realized that no day was going to work because I needed to go to New York City to attend a free Broadway show. And then I didn't do that because I got a call from my father telling me that my grandmother was going to die soon. So obviously, I went and I saw her. I gave her the opportunity for her to die with me by her bedside. She did not take me up on that offer. So she died when I Kevin is dying, but like into the microphone. He's not doing it into the microphone, so it doesn't look like he's laughing at all, but he is.
Oh my God, I have no idea how to.
I mean, something that we have to understand about my grandma, she was a generous woman. Uh, if she saw that there was a problem, she would do whatever she could to help you. But people are not two dimensional. That's not the only thing about her. We have very complex feelings about, what have all had gone down. And in many ways, this is a new chapter for the family now that she has passed. I will say that it is very much like my grandma Claire to die in the most inconvenient timing possible. So for like at first, this is going to be like the first time that I didn't go down to Florida for the holidays. And then, of course, so that then my grandma forces me to come down on account of being on her deathbed. And then she's entering hospice, right? And Kevin, I don't know, have you ever been to a hospice wing?
No, I'm still alive.
Well, yes, so am I, Kevin. But I've been there a
Oh,
few times for
yes, I
other
have.
people.
Okay, yes.
Okay, those who don't know, hospice is essentially where they move you in to say, all right, we're not going to continue their life anymore. We're just going to we're going to make sure that they're comfortable and let them dwindle away. And my grandma was in a lot of pain near the end. How much of it was exaggerated and how much not, we're really not quite sure. I think there was some hamming it up to get her into hospice, but be that as it may, uh, she was definitely in pain. And she kept denying morphine because she wanted to see me so that she could, like, be lucid. But even after I came, she still wouldn't take it, which didn't make any damn sense. Eventually, we get her to take the morphine, but the morphine doesn't help. And so then she gets another drug whose name I don't remember, but it pretty much lets her fall asleep. I'm not saying put to sleep because that means something different, but it lets her fall asleep. And I'm thinking that you have a grandmother, dying, and therefore it's going to be quiet and peaceful. I have never seen a noisier dying woman, and not in agony, but this all the time for days, snoring like a dragon. I have video evidence. Meanwhile, I'm trying to grade papers. And the only way that we could get my grandma to be quiet was my aunt digitized cassette tapes of my grandfather singing. He died like 16 years ago. And then I could put it on her phone and have it play out loud next to her ear on a loop. Problem, we only had 5 songs, and they were all like a minute and a half each. If I hear "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" one more time, somebody else is going to be in the ground. I ended up getting back on Wednesday. I had to take a couple of days to process. So now we're back to getting the podcast off the ground. I hope that my grandma, wherever, if there is an afterlife, I hope that she is doing well. And yeah, that's what I've been up to. How have you been, Kevin?
Been doing good, playing games. I liked the intermission.
What, what games have you been playing other than Trails from Zero?
Baldur's Gate 3. Been playing some Dark Tide on the Xbox. And playing the Game of Life, Colin. Playing the Game of Life. One of the side quests is to record a podcast episode
Indeed.
about a different game in the Game of Life.
So the intermission is called Kia, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's all about Kia. So, Kevin, what are your feelings about Kia? And I already told you that if you don't have sufficiently positive feelings, then this will be the last episode of the podcast.
My last day on this green earth.
Yeah.
So we meet Kia in a new status quo for her. She's settled into a kind of routine with the members of the SS as they go about their days. She's become a part of their life. It's almost like she's filled a hole they didn't even know was there, let alone absent. She's remarkably resilient, betraying almost no sign of the severe trauma of being human trafficked. Now, part of that sure has to be helped by she has no memory.
Right.
But she has a personality. And it's interesting how you can have one without the other. How do you get your personality? Is this so innate? Is this the intrinsic platonic Kia? Is it a programming? I think she's a robot of some kind. So that will be something for me to keep in mind. What causes her to be the way she is? And how is she? She's inquisitive, she's bright, she's cheerful, she's a scamp in that, rebellious in a kind of a funny way or good natured way, but listens and appreciates what is essentially parent figures in the form of Lloyd and Ellie, a cool uncle with Randy, and either a sibling or older cousin, depending your interpretation, with Tio. Colin, I'm not gonna lie, I was so prepared to hate Kia, but
But
I thought she was written quite well. The interactions are well done. This was a good, well, not chapter, but this was a fun breather. I liked it.
yeah, I mean, what really strikes me about Kia is that I think she's supposed to be 8 or 10 or something. The exact age of what she looks like is given when Cecile thinks that Lloyd's been fucking around and hiding a wife from her for a while. But like, it's not like toddler, right? It is approaching age of reason. It's growing up, but still like in that cute stage. But the way that she acts a lot of the time is not unlike that of a 4 or a 5-year-old discovering the world for the first time, because she is. It's this weird amalgamation of a little bit more of a higher level thinking ability with the innocence of babes. But it's weird because while she doesn't have specific memory, she does not have episodic memories, which would be autobiographical memories, but she does have general knowledge about stuff. For instance, out of the mouths of babes and infants, you have created perfect praise, O Lord, because when Kia sees Risha Mao for the first time, out of Kia's mouth are the words, wow, Lloyd, look at them titties. They are huge, which implies in this interaction that she is aware of the concept of boobies. Uh, well, she uses boobies. She doesn't say titties. She's aware of the concept of boobies. She knows that being huge is both considered a aesthetically good thing and is rare, so that it's then remarkable upon. Right? She has to make this exclamation, and one has to wonder, how does she have this cultural knowledge without having the episodic memories of her life up until that point? I see that Kevin is raising his hand. We're on Zoom this time because we're in a different setting and I haven't figured things out yet. What would you like to interject, Monfrere?
I would. Colin, you know how I said for the most part I liked Kia in this episode?
Well, do you not like her booby comment?
I think dislike is a bit of a weak term. It's with the blazing fury of 1,000 splendid suns. I detested this comment. It
But
is unnecessary.
no, actually, I think it's very necessary. And I have a video of a kid that my sister used to babysit to prove it, in which this kid looks into the camera. My sister's recording, and he just says these words: I like that boobies. And my sister asks, what boobies? And he goes, your boobies. Kids do that.
I hope to God that gets edited out.
I'm editing. It's not getting edited out. It's a hilarious video. I'll
it's
send it to you at the end of this.
it's unnecessary. It's just the weebification, anime tropification of the Trails series that from what you have said, steadily grows bit by bit, brick by brick, more by more. It's just
I mean, yeah, there are
we know
tropes.
why I don't like these elements, and
It's
I don't
because you're a
have anything more to say.
it's because you're a curmudgeon, even more than I am. Like, would you have some fun for once in your life?
Yes, I have fun in carefully scheduled increments.
When's your going off the walls and saying random stuff schedule time? You have
Never.
you have to have room for spontaneity, Kevin. That's the
Yes, and
spice
I
of life.
schedule that.
All right. So anyway, putting aside the cultural knowledge of boobies that Kia has that Kevin thinks she should not have. What also strikes me about Kia working with the SSS is that up until this point, we see the SSS acting as a team, right? They're friendly, they work well as a unit. Yeah, they live together. Yeah, they eat together. But now they feel like a family because everybody's pitching in towards the common goal of taking care of Kia.
And the found family is such a fundamental trope of so much media, games, movies, books, TV shows. And
Question,
this is just
Kevin, I have a question for you. You just criticized Kia's booby comment because it's a trope, but you just said that this is a trope. Why is the booby comment not allowed, but the found family is allowed?
so tropes aren't bad. They are italics. And they describe archetypes or known patterns of media and you could say of life, basically. That so we can fit them, we can make them intelligible in a literal sense. That is, can be categorized, understood, compared, contrasted. They make for easier analysis. Sometimes sloppier analysis. You cut corners, but it allows for reference points to be constructed between known and unknown works or elements thereof within. And some tropes used poorly, would call them, I'd say maybe cliches, are tired, overdone. The damsel in distress, assaulting a woman to give motivation to a man, miscommunication between, say, allies in a war, or just silly shenanigans like that. Those are all tropes that are
Yeah, silly
bad.
shenanigans like that.
Yeah. So this is I think I like on a personal level, the disparate individuals coming together, realizing what they have in common. They're stronger together than the sum of the parts, the whole. And so in a nutshell, at the most base level, I like one trope and I dislike the other. But my dislike of the other is rooted in just I don't find it's able to tell interesting stories. I find found family can be a really good mechanism for interesting stories.
But you don't
Does
like
this make sense at
boobies.
all about what the tropes are the building blocks into what use they are put?
No, I understand. I'm just trying to pinpoint that you don't like boobies.
I don't like this 14-year-old adolescent worldview.
No, I mean,
Colin, you know what I do like?
what
Juice.
I I really want to see where you're going to go with this.
Because there's one quest for the intermission.
Oh, you said juice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
I
there's three hidden side quests that, to be honest, Colin, if I did not look at the Neo Seeker guide, the one that you said was a good
yeah.
repository, I would never have found that out.
I think I would have found them all organically because I decided to talk to every single person. But no, I agree that you have to look them
No,
up.
I would have found the Sunday school one. That I think there was enough in textual in game hints,
Yeah, the
to
game
go
kind of
back and
tells you to
talk.
go back. Yeah,
And they're kind of sucky or they're bland. Like usually some of these side quests in the chapter, we get a lot of mileage out of talking about them. Cool elements or design or characters or the world, but for this,
yeah. No, not so much. Like, okay, we get a little bit of combat in, but we've already agreed that we don't even talk about those in the show anymore. The mayor one is a little bit interesting because it gives us a glimpse at how Hartman and Speaker McDowell or Mayor McDowell speak to each other and negotiate. And we do get a little bit more of like it's meant to showcase Kaya's intrinsically generous nature of wanting to go and get, something for the mayor. But I wish that we could have seen more of the negotiations between Hartman and McDowell and less on let's go find acerbic tomato juice.
yes. Well, again, if we didn't have a guide, this would not have been the easiest quest to do.
No, because you go to the truck and you're like, fuck, where's the truck? But okay, to be fair, you would have eventually found the truck because you have to pass it to go to the hospital.
No, the truck is in the station,
It's
the
not in
train
the
station.
station. It
Well,
is
but it's you
next to
don't
the train
pass.
station where you have to go down because in order to get to the hospital, you have to leave the city to the south. So you have to pass the train
Oh,
station.
I always fast travel.
I will see. I don't.
So that is actually quite interesting. So there's that. And so the side quests are not the main purpose of the chapter, of the intermission.
No.
The main purpose is Kia, but what do the developers want us to focus on with regards to Kia?
I think
What do they want us to think about her?
what I think they want us to focus on, and this comes out a lot if you talk to everybody, most people will have an interaction with Kia,
Oh yeah.
which is why I talk to so many people, and it's fascinating how she can intrinsically connect with somebody like that. It's as if people are drawn to her. It's something about her pure innocence just means that everybody wants Kia to like them, and she likes everybody. If you talk to everybody, I think there's one person who doesn't like Kia, and it's a medical student who's trying to read about autopsies. There's two. Who's the second?
Yes. The first one I talked to was the weapons store owner, and
Oh,
I
true.
think very understandably, Colin, he's like, what the hell are you doing
But
with
like,
taking a kid into a gun shop?
but it's not like he didn't like Kia. He didn't like the SSS for bringing the kid into the Walmart back aisle where you can buy a gun.
Okay, yes, one, great name. Two, I'm glad he was not bowled over by her admittedly sunny, cheerful personality and didn't offer her, I don't know,
A
a
gun?
cannon half off. Yeah. But as okay, if she was only 2 years older, then she would be old enough for a literal canon, as we know from
Well,
Tito.
from Tita. My God, man, it's not been
Yes.
that long. Tito. We played 3 games with her. This isn't like Susanna or Suzuki or whatever the fuck
Shoshana?
her name is. Charlotte.
Yeah, so there's that. But no, I did talk to a lot of people, and there's these connections. I don't want to say a magnetic personality because that seems like she would be the sun and they would be orbiting around her. It's more
Eh.
connections, like you said. And I kind of wonder if that's an intentional small hint about Kia's true nature.
So what do you think? Like, do you have any elaborated thoughts?
I have two theories, and
Okay.
I'm not sure which one is the more likely to be borne out.
Well, why don't you tell us what they are and I'll shut up and not say anything?
One, she's a robot of some kind, an android, like just some artificial creation. And I think that's maybe the Black Hundred. No, that's the Tsarist cavalry. I was reading about the
It's
Russian
this
Revolution.
it's the Tsarist cavalry.
The Black Workshop? No.
Yeah, no, the Black Workshop. That's we've seen them mentioned before, haven't we?
Yeah, with the robot doll, the doll
Yeah, and
knight,
the Dull Knight. The
something
13
like
Factories was
that.
mentioned in that.
Yes, something, but not evil. So maybe the good counterpart or rogue creation, or she was stolen before they could program her, but an artificial, born of machine and metal. Second, this be materialist. The second hypothesis is very transcendental, like something connection with Idios, maybe an avatar or a slice, like a small seed or something with the divine. Because the church could not help her. It was
Right.
very clear how they distinguish between medicine and healing. And I really liked that as a bit of world building, to be honest. I thought it was some cool stuff.
The only thing that I was kind of confused about in that scene in the with Sister whatever her name is, Sister Marble, I
Marvel?
think. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because so she's doing this thaumaturgy, right? Which has its roots in Neoplatonic philosophy, where you would commit sacrifices and do ritual in order to commune with the one. So it's a fitting name. It's pretty cool that it's
Yeah.
being used that way. But at least historically speaking, thaumaturgy is supposed to be secret. Like it's something that you have to be initiated in. Not everybody can do it. And Sister Marble alludes to this that the Gralsritter knows how to do it, but not everybody else. Which then Ellie immediately knew who the Gralsritter were. I thought this was supposed to be a secret thing. Why can she know that? I don't know. But also, Marble can do thaumaturgy as if she could just study it out of a book and figured it out. And if she can do it, then why can't more people do it?
That is not the impression that we got when Kevin in 2 and 3 used what I think has to be retroactively known as thaumaturgy on Joshua and then elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean that was like it's the same thing with Weissman. I mean they studied a lot. They were in these secretive areas of the church. Um, Sister Marble is not. Sister Marble is a Sunday school teacher. Now I'm not saying Sunday school teachers can't be smart, but it just seems to not be congruent with the other facets that we know, which perhaps it means that we have to see this as a more widely available knowledge set.
Yes, it kind of lessens the separated nature of the Gralsritter, of the Dominion. It was almost like a shadow arm that some people didn't even believe existed connecting to the church. Whereas here, it's more like, would the CIA be a very rough, like secretive, you don't know what's going on, but you know it exists?
Yeah, maybe. I just found it weird that Ellie knew about it. Um,
She kind of shouldn't, because the Gralsritter seemed very, in the liberal arc, it did not seem common knowledge by any means.
no, exactly. Like when people noticed that Kevin was a weird looking priest, they didn't say, "Oh, he might be part of the Großritter. The only knowledge you would have about the Großritter was the book series that was a fictional novel.
I feel like if people knew the girls really did exist, if there was this cultural like wellspring, weird priest acting really shady, one of the first go to what could they be for among the masses, or at least the educated would be, could this guy or gal, could they be a knight? Whereas we
Yeah.
don't get that at all by any means. It's just Kevin's weird, he's shady, and they know there's something shady going on, but they have no idea what it could be. And his status as a clergy member does not seem related to his oddities.
Now, to defend Ellie a little bit here, so if we think back to like the beginning of the third, it is clear that certain high up government officials know about the Großritter, right? Like,
Yes.
what's her name? Julia. She knew about it because she was escorting Kevin down to the basement of the church in order to deposit the relic. The Queen knows about the Großritter, as a matter of course. Chloe didn't, as far as we can remember, but eventually she would have learned. Ellie is the granddaughter of the mayor of Crossbell. Maybe she would have picked it up from him.
Yes, and she does not have the lamentably poor critical intelligence scores that others, Lloyd chief
Yeah,
among
Lloyd.
them, seem to have.
You're related to Mayor McDowell? No way. I'm a
I always
detective.
love that. Yeah, not just a policeman, a detective.
Yeah.
But why do we meet Sister Marble?
We meet Sister Marble because Kia has no memories. Her first memory is being taken out of a box and seeing Lloyd's face. Thus, one of the reasons why she is so clearly imprinted upon him, almost as with loyalty of a pet to their human. In some, you don't like that, but like it's kind of true. If you're thinking about, she's only there for a week. And there have been times where, like, hey, why don't you go live with the bracers for a little bit? Or could you stay in the hospital for tests? And the answer is always no, no, no. She must be with Lloyd. And that's not just a child's thing. Children can have sleepovers.
Are they too lax with Kia? Should they be setting more boundaries for her?
I mean, I don't know if I would really be able to judge. They only know her for a
Yeah.
week. You know, when's the last time that you've had a what appears to be a person with no memories, but with the charmingness of a uh who's a very charming person. Somebody who's very suave. Yes, Kevin, you're very charming. Somebody who's both suave, adorable, innocent, and no memories of anything.
You know, it's been a hot minute. I'm not going to lie.
Uh, a
So
hot
yeah,
a
and
hot minute since you've seen somebody like that. Okay.
they didn't. I don't want to say they didn't ask for this and make them seem like ungrateful, but there was a huge alteration in their patterns of life.
Oh yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah,
take
so they're figuring this out as they go.
absolutely, and it's only been a week. Plus, they've been on
Yeah.
house arrest up until this point, which means the last time Kia was outside was when we were rescuing her from the black auction.
So she had never seen the sun
Well, she saw it.
until this intermission.
I mean, it was it nighttime that we busted her out?
Yeah,
I
yeah, it
guess it must
was.
have been.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's possible that she's never. I mean, she would have seen it through the window. She could have been out on the roof.
Oh yeah, true that. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to nickel and dime Ellie and Lloyd for being quote not the best parents they could be, considering. Hey, congrats, take care of this possibly human person.
Take care of this like half fully formed baby and do a good job. But speaking of half brained, half baked, and thinking about babies, let's talk about Cecile.
I'm a big baby. Oh yes,
Because Okay, we do understand that Cecile is a very nice person, very generous, very kind, not always the smartest, and seems to have two contradictory views of Lloyd in her head at the same time, which is A, super innocent and sweet and blah blah blah, and also can slay that Gucci with the snap of his fingers. And I'm bringing this up because
Oh.
as soon as she sees Kia, her first inkling is to accuse Lloyd of having a secret wife with whom he has procreated.
I have an unironic, wonderful interpretation of this, and I would bet any amount of money was entirely unintended by the game
Okay.
developers. No, but I legitimately think it is a masterful way of looking at how she views him. Tell me, Colin, is this not the perfect 100% true flip of the gendered Madonna horror complex?
Well, why don't you expand on what that means?
So, say, particularly how one views women, how men often usually or sometimes can view women as too contradictory, either towards the same person or they classify into one or other categories. The virginal, maternal figure, oftentimes older, but not always, pure, uncorruptible, contrasted to, at odds with, sometimes the same person as the object of fixation, a woman as inherently sinful, inherently sexual, promiscuous, and that it's like two negative conceptions of woman, singular plural, from two totally different viewpoints that have the same common base of the other one dimensionality.
So
They
I
are the Madonna. They are the whore.
so I think I'm picking up what you're throwing down, but I'm going to pull a line from you and ask you to
Oh
provide a
God.
specific example so as to best illustrate this for our viewers or for our listeners.
Yeah. Okay. So on the Wikipedia page, I don't know if you ever read the portrait of the artist as a young man.
Yes, I have.
So when the protagonist puts most of the women that he comes into contact with on pedestals in an ivory tower, they're untouchable. They're so pure. I can't, really connect with them, be with them. He channels his sexual frustrations into prostitutes.
Mhm.
And those are the only types of women he interacts with in the novel. Those he classifies as so far above me or so untouchably beautiful or so mystically beautiful, not earthy, or people he pays to have sex with him. Um, let's see. Vertigo by Hitchcock. And I'm quoting here, the same actress plays two women, a virtuous blonde, sophisticated, sexually repressed Madonna, and then the dark-haired, single, sensual, fallen woman. Um, or you're a scholar, you're a historian of early Christianity. How often are, say, hagiographies or women in Christian literature one of these two extremes?
I mean, normally in Christian literature, we either find women that are already virtuous or already wanting to be virtuous that are then, intervened upon by God and then can become virgins again or,
Yes.
become ascetics. Very rarely, not very rarely, but you'll also get the idea of she was a prostitute, normally out of need, not out of lust, but sometimes out of lust, and is then converted into a born again follower of Christ, living with her husband like a sister, blah, blah, blah. So that happens. I guess so trying to connect it back to Lloyd and Cecile, I think what's the distinguishing factor here is that at least in the examples that you've provided, it is you're either one or the other, and then your concept of what a woman can be is either the Madonna or the whore. Whereas with Cecile's view of Lloyd, there's both Madonna and whore in him. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Um, it's sometimes in the same person, but it's just these two polar extremes that are pretty unifaceted or flat, and not approaching seeing them as complex, fully fleshed 3D people and all the messiness. It's the Madonna and, the prescribed qualities, virtues, vices.
Yeah.
The whore, and the prescribed qualities, virtues, vices. It's slotting people into categories.
I think something that I would like to see in because I think that you're right. You're tapping into something with Cecile, which is that Cecile kind of treats Lloyd as if he were a literary character and not as a person.
Yes.
And so I would like to see Cecile. We are told that they have this deep connection. We see it a little bit in the beginning, but we kind of see like we've only actually seen tropes with them, and I'd like to see a bit more depth.
You are 1,000% right in that we are told a lot. We're not given room to experience it
Right.
naturally. And Cecile is very thermostatic with regards to Lloyd, as in oscillations of extremes.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what thermostats also do?
What, Kevin?
They measure the temperature, hot or cold, brr. And
You know what else goes burr?
wait, fuck.
Guns.
Yes,
You
go
know
on.
who has guns?
Ellie?
Yes, but also the mafia.
Yes.
I'm I'm glad we got there.
They're in a desperate position, backs to the walls. They decided to let bygones be bygones in exchange for we don't want human trafficking charges being levied against us because they know that that is one of the things that the Crossbell police cannot for moral and PR reasons turn a blind eye to.
Yeah, it's a step too far for them.
They're still in a desperate position, and the Don tells Garcia they're gonna have to activate, a trump card. What
And
could that be?
well, this is where I shut up. And but I do want to know what you think. You said this is something that you wanted to speculate upon.
Oh, the speculation was about, who slash what is Kia. So about this, it can't be Yin, because otherwise they would have just said Yin.
You know,
And
they're
Yin does
fighting
not work
against
for
Yin.
them.
Correct.
Yeah, Yin works for Hayu,
How you way?
Highway,
Yeah.
and they're Vivash. So maybe this Yang from Ruby.
Or just Chinese philosophy.
Or not. But on a more serious note, it did not feel like a person, like a secret character. It felt like a plan or an action or a domino falling, something like that. More a spider web plucking a string, not letting loose a person. I wonder, huh? I'm trying to think from Trails Cold Steel 1, because you said that takes place the same time as Zero.
Yeah, so Trails Cold Steel 1. So how do I put this? Zero in Azure and Cold Steel 1 and 2 take place on more or less parallel tracks, and then they meet up at the end of Cold Steel 2 and Azure, but it's not exactly one-to-one parallel.
Okay, they're going to get Reen to form a harem, get all of the previously independent women who had goals, turn them into simps for bland, boring, whiny brat, and decapitate the power structure of Yin, of the Guardian Force, of the SSS.
Well, I will neither confirm nor deny. We'll have
Now,
to see how that prediction plays out.
to be more level, we don't have enough to go on. Just the hints we're given lead me to believe it's a plan, a contingency. It's not an assassin, but I guess we'll find out.
Yep.
And there's two more chapters left.
There's two more chapters left.
And based on the formula, sometime in chapter four, all the cards, most of the cards we played placed on the table. We'll get the setup for the end, which I imagine will be a final dungeon of some sort, most of the chapter five. So I predict we're going to see a lot of, I don't say revolution, but I'm not sure what the word is, sudden appearances or
Revelations.
revelations in chapter four that should make chapter five the climax and denouement.
It is interesting, right? Because at this point, still, we don't know
No,
what the plot is. We have the environments, we have events that have happened, we have these characters, and they've been what's keeping us going. But and this is something that I've talked to you about before, is that I typically have a 20-hour limit where if I don't know who the main villain is or what, at least what the group is working towards, by the 20-hour mark, I start to lose interest. I am 50 hours into this game at the moment. We still don't know what's going on, but doesn't matter. We love Trails from Zero. They've managed to write this narrative in such a way that we're captivated by the moment to moment interactions, and we don't necessarily need the whole overarching push.
it reminds me of FC,
Yeah.
but by this point, I think the chapters are longer here, or is this just a shorter game than FC?
No, FC is shorter than Zero. The chapters are longer in this game, I think.
So by this point, I feel like the coup was underway, or we know the coup was happening.
So in FC, we start to get sniffings about the coup at the end of chapter 3, right? And then chapter 4 is Grand Cell, which is the last part. Whereas we have a whole chapter 4 and then a chapter 5.
It just feels, I mean, but playing the game, I don't think, oh, I don't know what the main plot is.
Right.
It's more, this is fun and engaging. So it's a good piece of misdirection. I have a
So
prediction.
you have a prediction. Okay. What's that?
Oh, yeah. We know how the end of FC set up the main overarching plot of SC,
Yeah.
vis-a-vis Joshua on a personal and a society for the plot.
Yep.
That we're going to see something similar in Zero to Azure, that something will happen the end or close to the end of Zero that we'll know from day one of Azure what the main plot is and what the main propelling character motivations is slash are.
Okay. Well, as with all your predictions, I can confirm nor deny. We will have to see how that one fits out. But unlike your Reen Harem idea, I think that you should write down your Kia predictions and this prediction so that we can judge it when the time comes.
General, have I had any on point predictions for the crossbow arc?
Probably, I think so. Yeah.
And you know how we can get predictions, Colin, by playing. And that's what we'll be doing for future episodes. We'll be playing Trails from Zero. The next chapter is chapter 4. The next episode may be part of chapter 4. It may be a sidebar. It may be something totally unknown.
Well, it's not going to be unknown. Here are the options. It's either going to be
No.
Buffer State Project. It's either going to be Chapter 4, or I don't know if you remember, but you should, is that I still owe you Planescape Torment.
You do, and I am willing to go to do a forbearance on the collection of the dead. I shall not name you forsworn for your failure.
Okay,
We
but
shall settle as we settle.
all right. If you're going to tell me that you don't want us to play it anymore, that's fine.
Oh
But
no,
I have
I
made a
do.
commitment to do it, so I want to do it. I just need
I
to do
said
it.
I shall issue a forbearance. The debt will be collected, but at a later date. My pound of flesh will be given.
That sounds disgusting. But so far we
It's
have
from Shakespeare.
well, Shakespeare also invented the word eyeball. It's not like if you think about it, an eyeball is a disgusting thing because it assumes that you have plucked out somebody's eyeball to know that it is a sphere. How does Shakespeare have that cultural knowledge, huh?
Mystery, just like what's going to happen in chapter 4
Just
of
like
Trail
Kia and her
Zero.
knowledge of boobies.
I swear to God. Until next time, I'm Kevin. That's Colin. See you next. Fuck.
What do you see you next fuck? That's we're not seeing them next fuck.
I said to see you next time at the beginning. No, I can't do it at the end.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye bye.